There we go. Oh, there we go. Well, good afternoon, good evening, good morning. Oh, how's everybody doing today? Huh? Oh, we got Wyoming in the house. We got Ohio. We got London, Ontario, that is. Yeah, I've been reading the comments. Hello from New York. Nice, guys. Well, listen, thanks for joining tonight. We got a bit of a different live show here tonight. We're doing live show / product updates / what's on the market, what you can use, what you could use, what you should use, what maybe you shouldn't use. We'll find out. We're going to do a little bit of a science experiment as well. And we're going to talk a little bit about people COVID-free in Michigan. That's a lovely thought. Our numbers just went through the roof again today. God help us all. Ay. We got Norway in the house. Nice. Lots of folks from Michigan. I guess you got pretty much similar weather, eh? Crappy in the wintertime and then hot and humid in the summer. Nice. Good place to hang out in a basement in the summertime. We got Larry from Calgary in the house. That's cool. We don't have any real rules today, guys. I mean, it's the same rules as always, right? Later on in the show, we're going to answer questions from our members. And of course, if you have questions and you're not a member and you want to do a super chat to get in on that, great. If not, join the membership. Great. Join in on that. It's basically the join button, okay? You're joining us on YouTube. That's what that is, in case you're wondering. And you get access to our forum where you guys can all chat with each other and share all your information, get to know each other and ask questions from me. Nice. Cool. I'm not sure how my videos have helped you finish your garage floors in a day, but I didn't do a garage floor video yet, but that's cool. If nothing else, we make you handy, eh? Cheers, awesome idiots. And yeah, that's actually somebody's handle, so I'm not actually calling anybody an idiot. And Existential Paint just joined us, the membership program with the Money in the Bank level. Now, listen, the reason for the video tonight, honestly, it's all about basements. We're going to try to focus in a little bit. So if you got questions, let's try to keep the conversation, subterranean tonight if we can, all right? We'll keep it below grade. And if that starts to dry up, then we'll open it up to everything else. But otherwise, we're going to try to focus in and make this video a useful tool to people who want to watch it later, right? Wow. Somebody's saying here, Anthony's saying, thanks to me, he became a contractor and opened a renovation business. I don't know if you should be thanking me or punching me in the face. Another black guy, maybe. Oh, the laminate flooring video. Okay, cool. Nice. I get it now. All right. How should I go about doing my basement by code? As a homeowner, the city is on my neck already. Well, that's a problem. First of all, you should never let the city get on your neck. They should be your friend. You should learn how to embrace the city inspectors and be their friend, right? Do what they want. Invite them out. Coffee, tea. Say, hey, this is what I'm going to do. What would you like to see? What are the issues I'm going to run into? And, they'll work with you if you treat them with some respect. But if you try to sneak around and get things done without them noticing, then you can get in a lot of trouble. Just apologize and start over. New relationship. Okay? Tell them you got a bad advice from somebody and you don't want to be working like that. And it'll be news. It'll be welcome to them. They don't ever get people apologizing to them. Cheers, Jason. Welcome to the club. First of all, I'm going to just throw out a little bit of groundwork here, okay? Because when it comes to basements, we traditionally in North America, we have concrete floors and concrete walls. And let's just refresh everybody's memory. Depending on when your basement was built, it may or may not have any kind of waterproofing or moisture barriers attached to it. So there are different reasons for all the technology we put in a basement. We're going to start out tonight by assuming that it's an older house before they started putting vapor barrier underneath the concrete and before they started putting house wrap on the side. Because those are the folks that need the most help. Newer homes, you don't need a whole lot of help. You can just go with vinyl right on the concrete if it's got an underpad or get an underpad. It's not a big deal. But the older homes are where we have issues. So generally speaking, if you're a fan of the channel and you've been looking through the videos, you've probably seen, I did a video on subflooring, I don't know, what, 4 years ago now, Matt. That's a while, eh? Yeah. My God. It was a basement job, and you and your brother were in that series too. You were young guys then. That's fun. If you haven't seen it, you got to check it out. Here's the deal. Basements are generally susceptible to water events for a lot of different reasons. Some of them are from outside. Some are from freeze thaw in the wintertime. You know, you get rain mixed with cold weather, and then window wells overflow, and foundations leak and crack, and then the weeping tiles can be old and clogged, and water comes up through the floor. And I mean, there's so many ways for water to enter the house. And then you can have plumbing issues inside the house. You can have your frost bib burst because you didn't have the right pipe, or is installed the wrong direction, or you didn't drain it properly, you didn't suck out the water, whatever. You could also have a hot water tank burst on you in the middle of the night, and you're sleeping, you don't even know. You can get like hundreds of gallons of water in your basement from that hot water tank because they don't come with an automatic shutoff valve. Figure that one out. There's no such thing as an emergency shutoff valve on a hot water tank, which you'd think there should be. It'd be really simple, right? You just put a cable up to where the copper line goes into the tank and goes to the floor, and there's a sensor. When water comes in the room, it blows up and seals off the water. I don't know why that hasn't been invented yet. Maybe somebody should do that. Anyway, here's the deal. There's a lot of reasons and a lot of ways water can get in your basement. So even if you have new construction, you might consider the following. The idea of having an airspace or a subfloor with an airspace so that water events have the ability to travel to the floor drain, okay? And that shared air underneath that space can transfer the relative humidity and eventually dry out. I'm amazed in all the years I've been doing this that we don't have people understanding the concept of moisture transfer and vapor transfer better than they do. I'm going to have to do a video series on this. But the idea is this: a pool of water in the basement will eventually dry out because the air is drier than the water, and it turns from moisture into gas form, which is vapor, and it sucks it up like a sponge. And then the house is drier than that air now, so then all the framing, all the woodwork soaks up that moisture too. And all of that wood is attached to wood outside, and so that outside air is even drier than the wood, and so then it releases that moisture into the atmosphere. And so over time, you can get rid of water. Now, if you have a water event where it comes and it stops coming in, things can get wet and dry out. Some things you got to remove and put fans on it to dry it out, or it goes moldy, but we're not going to get into that today. We're going to talk about subfloor technology so that you can have a small water event and you can be safe. We have subfloor technology that's designed for having a little bit of airflow, some that's designed to keep you dry, some that's just to provide a surface so that you can have a nice solid surface, put flooring on. Some of it even has thermal break. You can get it all nowadays, right? So let's talk about this, because in my video 4 years ago, I used a black dimpled membrane, which was designed for the outside of a house. And yeah, it wasn't virgin plastic, and no, nobody cares because it was covered in OSB plywood. And so it never became an off-gas issue in the basement, okay? So stop overanalyzing and reading too many articles on the internet. It's a dangerous place. You really got to decide who you're going to listen to in this world and then go all in. Because I'm getting questions all the time from people who say, well, I got this advice here and this advice here and this video here and this guy on the internet here and this site over here. And I'm merging all of that together to come up with a solution to my problem. And you can't do that because they're all looking at it from a different perspective. Some of those opinions are paid for just to push product. Some people have got an opinion and they should just sit down and not talk because they don't have enough experience to have an opinion, right? So you got to decide who you're going to listen to, right? You got to pick a prophet, basically, is what I'm trying to tell you. Now, no, I don't know the future, but I do know this is going to be one hell of a year for renovating a basement. It may be a hell of a year for renovating anything indoors. But if you want to keep it simple and you just want to put in a floor and some walls, you'll be able to putter through it, okay, right? So here's the deal. Let's break this out a little bit, and we'll get into some of the basics. Here is a traditional DriCore subfloor panel. Bum, bum, bum. All right. That's okay, Maddie. I'll be all right for a few minutes. That's the black dimpled plastic underneath. Okay. And it's sitting on what I would call a 1/2 inch of OSB tongue and groove. Two sides are tongue, two sides are groove. And you just slide them together. You put them all in place. And if you really feel the need, you can throw the occasional Tapcon screw in it. But the idea is this. If you're using this as a subfloor, you stick these down, you put them all together. They'll follow the contour of whatever poured concrete you have, so it's not going to be an issue. And then you build all your interior walls on top, okay? So let's say this is your exterior wall. You bring this stuff not tight up to the wall. Leave a little bit of gap, like a 1/2 inch, all right? Maybe even an inch. And you build your wall on top of this, and you leave that 1 inch air gap. And here's why. Water gets underneath it. Now it's air underneath the floor sharing the air cavity in the wall. All right? And that drying out factor that I talked about, that relative humidity can travel up behind the walls, go into the floor joist package and find an escape outside, and everything will dry out. It works. All right? Now, this is step one. The most amazing thing that's going on right now is OSB has gone through the bloody roof. I actually went to the store the other day and I bought some 2x10s and an OSB sheet. And I built a mock-up of a floor because we did a whole series of videos on how to stop squeaks, how to open up your subfloor and reinstate it again, how to do the bracing, how to do the cutting, how to do the gluing and the screwing, how to drill holes so you can run all your plumbing, all of these kinds of things. And then we talked about different floor assemblies because it all starts with OSB, right? But in the basement, it starts with some sort of subfloor or you're going direct on concrete. But the point is that OSB cost me $55. One sheet. 4 years ago when I did that basement, I got OSB at $7.50. Last year, it was $10 before the COVID issue happened. $55 for one sheet. Now, my membrane and OSB package came in something ridiculous in around 35 cents a square foot cost. It was ridiculously cheap, and it was a lot thicker, and it was screwed down, and it was a vapor barrier as well, because these panels, when you fit them together, every one of these joints has got a weakness for vapor, okay? And so it's not as good a system as the one that I did in my video. And if you're not sure, you just go to our homepage, and you can type in the search tool, subfloor. And you're going to see me crawling around on some black dimpled plastic, and you can watch that video. It's not very long, but it shows you the idea how to install it, right? Not a lot on the way of installation instruction. Hey, cheers, Patricia. Welcome to the club. But you get the point. Now, this stuff here, I was at the store today and I picked this up. It's still less than $8 a panel, which is 4 square feet, which is 50 cents a square foot, which is, pretty reasonable. Because it's a lot cheaper to buy this than it is to buy OSB. And I'm thinking one of the reasons for that right now is because this company has got a contract with Home Depot for distribution, and they got to sell it at a certain price for retail. So one of two things maybe three things will happen. One, they're going to be hard to find in the near future because maybe they're going to run out of inventory and not make any more until the commodity of OSB comes back down. Two, they've got a supplier under contract who has to give them the OSB panels regardless of the commodity price. And it's kind of like, too bad, sorry about your luck, but I have a retail contract and you have a supply contract, and that might be going on. All right. Or three, they're just biting the bullet and hoping it doesn't last very long. I don't think that's the case. So if they continue to stay in stock, then you know that they've got a supply contract and someone out there is getting raked over the coals to make this happen. But you don't care. You're a homeowner. So if you want a basic subfloor system, this is it, right? Now, options. You can roll the dice and hope you don't get a water event, and you can put flooring right on your concrete. You can install laminate floor on a 2-in-1 underlay with a vapor barrier right on concrete. And if it gets wet, it's garbage. You throw it out and you do the floor again, right? That's how it works. Or you can put vinyl down, and it's waterproof. But you know what? That doesn't mean you can leave it there if it gets soaking wet. If there's a water event, you got to lift the vinyl plank up too and dry the space out because it's right on the concrete. and it's holding the moisture there. There's no airflow, so it can't dry. And that's a problem. So even though it's a waterproof floor, it just means the water doesn't damage the flooring. It doesn't mean you can just put it on concrete and sit it in water and who cares. So without a subfloor, either one of those situations, you got to replace the flooring. Good luck taking up an old vinyl floor and then reinstalling it again. You're going to find issues with that. It's just never going to be quite the same. Now, that's generation 1, okay? Generation 2, they came along and they did this. And they made an insulated panel. That's right. And you can see those grooves in there. They're going in both directions. Okay. Now these grooves are designed to allow air to move, just like the dimples do, right? And this is an insulation product. It's like R2, but it is a thermal break of a certain degree. So if you are bringing heat to your floor, it's actually a pretty good product. It's the same price. You get to pick your poison, right? Insulated or non, they both have an airspace and they both support, and they're both the same price. This one's a little thinner. You can tell. Look at that, another 1/4 inch thinner. So if you got issues with the height of your stairs, this might be your option. Just saying. This one also will not make that noise if you have uneven floor surface. You're right, you won't get that clacking around. All right. All right. These are 2 options. They're both the same price, 50 cents a square foot right now. My system was cheaper, but right now at $55 a subfloor sheet, it's way overpriced. Now my system's like about $1.40 a square foot, so don't use it. Now it's still the best system out there, but it's a hell of a lot of money to pay before you even start putting flooring in. Here's the thing. Any subfloor system like this that's a panel, you put this in first before your walls. You put this in, if you're going to use rigid foam insulation on your exterior wall and create a thermal break on your wall, you get like a 2-inch rigid, okay? Put that stuff in and then bring this up to it, but leave that 1/2 inch air gap, okay? Actually, that's probably not even a really good plan because then you're going to stuff insulation and everything else in there. Well, what I would do is I would put the rigid foam on with big dollops of adhesive, okay, and then put your wall up to that and build it after your subfloor. It's the only way you're going to have any air sharing with the wall cavity. Okay, the thing is with those rigid foam insulation, as soon as you use that, you're sealing up the wall. You don't have an air cavity anymore. So the idea of sharing the air from under the floor with the wall space is eliminated. So you've got to decide. If you're new enough construction and you can do the rigid foam, great. If you're not, consider building your wall with a 1-inch airspace and putting the Tyvek on the back side of the studs, okay? Insulation, and then you can put your vapor barrier, right? Because Tyvek is not a vapor barrier. It's a waterproofer. It's a water diversion system, but it's not a vapor barrier. Water vapor still passes through, so it's not an issue. You can have that airspace between the concrete wall and your framing and your Tyvek insulation, and then vapor barrier on the inside. All those assemblies are great. Yeah. Later on in the show, we'll go through that one more time. I'll pull out the whiteboard. I'll pull out the whiteboard and I'll draw in a couple of different assembly options just so that we can make it clear. But the star of the show today, folks, is this. I'm getting a lot of people asking me about this. So about to roll. All right. Here we go. Now, I don't know if we can save the sticker or not. Yeah. There we go. Bum, bum, bum. Hey, let's zoom right in on there. This is DMX. Now, DMX is the same company that I buy my black dimpled membrane from for the exterior walls and for my basement. And this one's got a picture of Scott McGilvery on it. Oh, great. We got a TV star on there, guys. It must be a good product. I'm sure he's doing that for free out of the goodness of his heart. Now, you know, the other 2 I mentioned, the DriCore panels, guess who sponsors that one? That's right, Brian Baumler. Imagine that. Huh? The only reason Scott McGilvery is endorsing this product is Brian already has a contract with the other guys. What else is he going to sponsor? Listen, just because there's a TV star on a product doesn't make it good. So let's put this sucker through the ringer and we'll find out if this is any good at all. All right. Time for a little bit of craziness. I went out today and I picked up some vinyl flooring because I wanted to know if you install your flooring right on this stuff like it says you should, and you could, what happens to that joint? Is it going to hold together? I think 2 panels are all we're going to get on that without getting killed. All right, Matty, here we go. We got to give it a stomp test and see how we're going to do here. Okay. Yeah. Whenever you're going to test flooring, you got to really test it, right? You got to find out. Oh, look at that. Joint didn't open up. Well, I guess it's true. The stuff actually works. So there you go. Now you know. Now I can actually say with some modicum of confidence that this blue stuff is actually not garbage. Now it was $100 for that roll. Let's see, how much does it get? It is 30 feet long, so about 100 square feet and change. So it's $1 a square foot, right? Now, $1 a square foot for underlay is a little expensive. But they got to pay Scott too, so don't forget that, right? Now, at $1 a square foot, the difference with this underlay is this. This underlay is not to be used and then you build your walls on top of it. This goes on the interior of each individual room. Okay? Don't make the mistake and treat this like a subfloor system. It's not. It's a flooring underlayment. That's the difference. So if you're looking at options, you're like, okay, so I could use DriCore and I can put all the walls on top of that. Yes, you can. And that'll work great. But if you have an empty basement and you want to use this stuff, wait until after you frame all your walls. Okay? Use a vapor barrier underneath your bottom plate or use pressure treated lumber as a bottom plate. But that's going to be hard to find too. So I would suggest use a vapor barrier. Yeah. Use a vapor barrier. Build with steel, right? And you can do steel framing, insulate that, and then put this on the interior of the room just to put the flooring on. And what I'll do is that'll get the flooring off the concrete, A. Now, the air that's underneath here, believe it or not, is still acts as a thermal break because air is an insulator, all right? And so if you bring in heat to the floor, you'll find a difference in the quality of the temperature of the room, but only if you bring in heat to the floor. This is the thing, guys. You see all these TV people are always talking about, it's thermal break. It's so much warmer down here. No, it's only warmer if you bring heat to the floor or you have in-floor heating. If the heat's coming out of the ceiling, the floor is going to be just as cold as the concrete. It ain't going to make a damn bit of difference. But if you're bringing heat to the floor, then you're going to be okay. Yeah, I wore the dad shoes tonight. Yeah, I know. My other pair of shoes are pretty much giving up the ghost. So I had to revert back to another pair of dad shoes. It's the only thing I could find during COVID. Anyway, hope that doesn't offend anybody. Remember, this is not a subfloor system. This is a flooring underlayment, right? Kind of funny because here's life proof, and they're like, you don't need an underlayment. But in a basement, this will give you an airspace, okay? Now, there's only so much airspace you can work with. There's not the same kind of drying capacity, but it does get it off the floor. If you get a bit of a leak through a crack in the wall or something, and it's an occasional issue, all right, you're gonna extend the life of your floor a little bit, but generally speaking, there's not a whole lot difference between using this or not using it at all, except the fact that you get off the concrete and you do get a bit of a thermal break. So if you bring heat to the floor, like I said, it feels a little warmer. They're here talking about how quiet it is. It's mold-free floors. Mold-free floor. Give me a break. It's plastic. Of course, it's mold. Concrete doesn't have mold in it either. So you're not protecting anything from anything here. Warm, comfortable floors. This does not heat up your floor. It does not make it warm. Like I said, unless you're bringing heat to the floor, you'll not notice a difference. Enough said. I'm harping on that, but it is an alternative For more effective scenarios, if you're starting from scratch and you're hell-bent on using this, and you're building interior walls or exterior walls first, take your skill saw and cut the bottom side of your plates a little bit. All right, throw in some lines like 1/4 inch deep, a couple of notches here and there around the outside of the room and in interior walls, and allow that to act like drainage weeping tiles, okay? So if you do get a water event, it can not build up behind the wall, and it'll pass underneath. It'll go underneath all this. It'll find the drain, right? Because that's the goal. Every drain in the basement, the goal is to get rid of extra water. Now, unfortunately, most basements don't have a drain that's actually at the lowest point nowadays. The goal is, as long as there's no more than 2 inches of water in a basement, everybody seems to think it did its job. That's pathetic, but hey, here we are. Let's get rid of this. I love the color, but no matter how much they ask me, I'm not going to get paid to endorse that product. I just don't see the value. Okay. All right. Woo. All righty. Now, what else do we want to talk about here? Oh, that's right. Let's finish off the presentation with some recommended assemblies. And we'll use red for insulation, green for wood, and black for concrete. How's that sound? Okay, so we got a concrete floor and a concrete wall. All right, that's pretty simple, eh? And the walls are never straight, so that's perfect representation. Now, you're going to have 2x4 construction, okay? And if you have your OSB panels, you will put those underneath to within a 1/2 inch of the wall. Okay, leave that airspace. This should represent 1 inch. Okay, that gap between the wall and the wood. All right, on this side, the dotted side is where, if you have an old house, you can put the Tyvek house wrap. You can actually build your wall on the ground, attach your house wrap, and then lift it up into place. Okay, throw a couple screws in at that point. And then you can put in your mineral wool or your fiberglass insulation. Okay. Can we zoom in even more than that? Let's do that, because I don't need to see this whole picture. This is going to be a reference tool. I got to get rid of the glare. Okay. That's good, Matty. Thanks, buddy.
Your hand to the right of it.
Yeah?
Rotate your hand to the right. No, you're right,
Dad. That right?
That's it.
Thanks, buddy. All right, let's try this again. Concrete floor, concrete wall. Underlay, underfloor system. Okay, that's a subfloor system. All right? Leave that, stop at 1/2 inch from the concrete, from the wall. Your wood frame, you want it 1 inch from the wall. Okay? That allows that air to go like this and flow up, and then find the floor joist cavity, and then get out. All right, it's perfect. So then the dot represents the Tyvek. That's the insulation. And then after the insulation, you put your plastic on the inside of that wall to here. Now, I get this question all the time. Should I spray foam this area? No, leave it open. Should I do anything fancy over here? No. When you're making a 99% installation, you don't have to worry about the other 1%. It's just not worth it, okay? Here's the deal. You put your plastic down about 1 inch on the floor. That's it, okay? And then you're good to go. You can put your flooring down. You're going to have a 2-in-1 underlayment or something like that anyway. Doesn't really matter. Now, if by some miracle you build all this and you put your plastic underneath your wood, okay? And then you want to, you can put a dimpled membrane on the inside of the wall and leave that airspace gap. And the reason you want an air gap here is because it's a floating floor. And even after you put on your baseboard, when you're walking around, there's going to be little gaps, okay? And if you get water event, those little gaps when you're walking around and using the space are going to open up a little bit here and there, and there's going to be air pushing and pulling through all those gaps, and that'll drive air under the floor and help to dry out all the water. Look at that. We got that all sorted out, eh? That's so much better, Matt. That's awesome.
I don't notice a difference.
No, the lighting there's not in conflict with the lights anymore. Okay. And that's the basic idea, guys. Okay. Subfloor or not, those are the installation. You can use this as a model to build your basement. Now we're going to get all kinds of questions. Let me guess. Sump pumps and radon and in-floor heating questions, right? All these kind of things. Yeah. Okay, let's go get into this. Cheers from Hungary. Nice. Hey, there's Sandy Rose in the house. Is this a premiere or is this live? I'm thinking it's a live. I'm feeling pretty live. And refined. All right. Okay, guys, I'm kind of done with this. Let's get back into the show here. All right, we'll answer questions now. So if you want to start firing away, I'm here to help you out. I know not everybody's been around since the beginning, so I'm going to answer the same question more than once. That's okay. I got lots of patience for that. I do want to make one little note here. Is this thing over here, that big silver box? That's for our other channel called Reality Renovision. Last week I forgot to promote it. And if you haven't seen the videos yet, go check it out. The video from last week was actually working with Matt and Nate, my two sons. And Max is filming. I know it helps understand the players. And they came over to the house and helped us build a deck at the rental house. It was a lot of fun. It's doing really well, but just in case you wanted to know, get to know my boys a little bit. They did a great job, and they had some cool interview interaction with Max there. Sandy, I'm tired too, but gosh darn it. We got to keep pushing on. All right, ladies and gentlemen, question time. If you got questions, ask. If you're a member. If you're not, do a super chat, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. If you'll help yourself, I will help you too. That's how that works. Yeah, I do have a reality show. It's really a reality. We're actually changing that. We were doing kind of 3 weeks, every 3 weeks or 4 weeks, we're doing a post with an update on the project. We're changing the style. So later on this summer, we're going to be going weekly, real live blogging, because we've got all kinds of things going on that I can't announce yet. Man, give me a couple more weeks. The next live show, maybe we'll be able to spill some beans. I'm excited to get to it, though. Yeah, we don't get to see the three of us enough. That's because, Matt's in school, Nate's in school. They both work a little bit on the side. Why am I using Tyvek? Great question. The reason I'm using Tyvek on the back side of the framing is to hold fiberglass insulation in place. Okay. Now, if you're using mineral wool and you framed it and you spaced it right, it doesn't have the propensity or the tendency to collapse and fall out of position. But fiberglass pink, sometimes if the studs are too far apart, it'll sink and collapse. And then you get this huge hole in the wall where there's no insulation anymore. So by putting the Tyvek on, for pennies of glass, you can add the Tyvek and hold your insulation where it needs to be. There's lots of people out there that got really cold drafts in the basement. And it's just from wood warping or twisting or bad framing or bad installation. So it solves all that problem immediately, but also years down the road. So you'll always have your insulation where you want it, not just there for the inspection, which is not the only deal. All right. Where are we here? No, if you're using rigid foam, you don't need to use the Tyvek. Okay. And that's the assumption that if you have a 2x4 house, regardless of what they're trying to make you do, you only have to go with R12 or R14 insulation in your wall, and that's the solution. If you're building 2x6, then you can do that as well and get R20 and match it. But if you want to get R20 and maybe save a few bucks, rigid foam, and then 2x4 wall, then bad insulation, and that'll work fine. And you don't need the Tyvek in that case, because now the rigid foam is what's holding the insulation off the concrete. And that's really an important aspect, because insulation in contact with the concrete creates wet spots. And we all know fiberglass and moisture don't work well together. So that's really the whole reasoning behind all that. How do you deal with a breaker box that's screwed to the wall when adding a new wall to the basement? Well, first of all, it's not just that the box is screwed, but the piping with the power line is also rigid pipe and it's not moving. So the only thing you can do is build around it and recognize it's going to be a weak spot and just deal with it, right? It's only one space. It's not a real big deal. And it's not the end of the world if you have an inefficiency in your whole system once in a while. Don't get your knickers in a knot. Most people have got a lot more window on the main floor and upstairs than they do in the basement. And they don't seem to be complaining about the heat loss, even though there's only R5 in that wall. So glass is R5, folks. So if we can have windows in our house, we can have a electrical panel that's not sealed up as tight as the rest of the home. It's not going to be the end of the world. All right. Oh my God, I need a... Faced fiberglass insulation. I'm answering a lot of questions for free here tonight. This is interesting. Yeah, don't get your knickers on that. So insulation, the faced insulation versus unfaced. Unfaced insulation is better to use because you can see what you've done, right? All the corners. How many times you put in insulation, you got to pull or tug or squish or maneuver. Faced insulation, you can't see if you got a good seal. The reason faced insulation is on the market is because there's lots of zones between where I live and Florida where you want insulation in your wall, but you don't need a vapor barrier per se. So they use that paper and it's got a treatment so it kind of slows down vapor, but the permeability is just not, it's much more permeable than plastic is. Let's just say that. So whenever I've got a choice, I'm going to use vapor barrier, I would go unfaced with vapor barrier. If I'm in the middle of the country zones, where you'd only have heat on for a couple months a year, I'd probably use the paper face stuff, right? Just because it's really nice when you can install it. And you got to take care and make sure you get a good seal and stuff. But when you install it, you don't have all the fibers in the atmosphere. And so there's a lot of work that goes between insulation and closing up the walls. And it actually does a really good job of creating a decent work atmosphere so that the air is somewhat clean. We got another member to the membership club. Mi Posito. Very cool. Cheers. Welcome to the club. All right. Oh, my goodness. Maybe tonight we're going to just dive in for all of the subscribers who aren't even members, because I don't have a lot of members with a question here. There's James is asking me, when working with metal studs, how do you put the U metal on the ceiling that the wall runs between the 2x in the ceiling? Just cross brace. Cut some 2x4s and stick them across the floor joists and create a nailing surface. That's it. I know, it's that simple. Yeah, every 4 feet is plenty. So I'm basically saying to buy the subfloor now before. I'm saying buy the subfloor if you're going to do the project, because I can't guarantee their inventory because we don't know why their price isn't going up. Is it because they have fixed inventory for the year and when they're out? And you don't want to be the one wanting to do a basement with subfloor and not get a hold of it, right? That's just what I'm saying. It's 2021 and the rules are changed. I was at my plumbing supplier the other day, Woolsey Mechanical. Shout out to the guys over there. I was talking to Mark, one of the guys that works at the shop there, and he's been around there for a long time, so he knows the deal. And he was telling me that there's supply chain issues for fittings and plumbing parts. You can't even buy ABS right now. That's our equivalent in Canada to CPVC for drains. So there's some major issues. I'm just saying, if you're going to do a project, before you start, order your stuff, have it, order a pod or get a temporary garage, something. You need to have everything you're going to use on site before you start, because you might just get to one place where it's like, I just can't get the fitting. And if I don't have a fitting, I can't turn the water on. If I can't turn the water on, what's the point of all the other work, right? So don't go nuts. Really plan things out this year and get everything you need before you start. Wow. You're looking to sound. Diane's asking me, she's looking to sound minimalize a room. That's a hell of a phrase, isn't it? But Diane's got it right. I'm looking to sound minimalize, not soundproof, not eliminate it, not the cone of silence. Just make it more reasonable, right? You need a ceiling and wondering if I need to have 2 layers of 5/8 drywall and what kind of insulation. Okay. Diane, the same guy from HGTV that supports the blue flooring is also a paid sponsor of Roxol Insulation, Safe and Sound. And he did a video and he puts in 2 layers of Roxol insulation in a ceiling cavity and then puts 5/8 drywall over top of that. Now, that is a really good installation for Roxol because you're spending a fortune on that. But the truth is the sound difference between Roxol and fiberglass is almost exactly the same. And if you put in Roxol, it's about twice as expensive. And if you put in 2 layers like he's recommending, it's 4 times as expensive. So you can go with an R20 bat of fiberglass pink in your ceiling. And then what you want to do is you want to run resilient channel. Okay, it's like a hat channel. Cross the floor joist, okay, and then add your 5-inch drywall to that. That's going to make such a huge difference. It's not even funny. Just separating the drywall from the floor package makes a huge difference. And then do that second layer. You know, do 1 layer and see what you think. Here's my secret. If you do 1 layer 5/8 plus insulation and you're like, not bad. I can live with that. Then live with it. Tape it and enjoy it. If it's not quite what you want, right, then you can add another layer of 5/8, which is commercial level, which is better. Or you could even say, you know what, I want to go all in, and you could buy the green glue and use the green glue. We got videos on soundproofing on our site. Just go to the home page, look at the little icon, type in soundproofing, and you can look at all the different products that are out there. There's a lot of different levels of quiet. And if you're looking for something reasonable that's not going to break the bank, fiberglass R20 plus 1 layer of 5/8 on hat channel is the way to go. That is the best bang for your buck. It's not the quietest, but it is really huge improvement that you'll notice without spending a fortune. Okay, where are we here, bud? Oh, we got a member here who wants to know, how does rim joist vapor barrier tie into the basement walls and the floor above? Acoustic sealant, the black gooey stuff. If you watch our kitchen insulation video from last year, you will watch us do the insulation and then the plastic vapor barrier up and around all the floor joists. And basically what we do is we cut the plastic so it's oversized, and we do a whole channel of thick black gooey stuff when we press the plastic into it. That gooey stuff never dries out, and it's always an air seal, and as such it's a vapor seal, and so it is amazing. It also makes your house a lot quieter from against street noise because it's acoustic seal. Anyway, have I ever done a den shield backing without red guard? No. Well, yes, but we have a different waterproofing system with Den Shield. If you're going to use Den Shield in a shower, you've also got to use a Kerdi band, not a band, a Kerdi membrane, okay? Because the Den Shield stuff is great. It doesn't get destroyed by water. It's fiberglass. But at the end of the day, it's the corners where there's expansion and contraction and there's a gap. How do you solve that? I know lots of guys who used to do that Den Shield, and then clear silicone, and then they tile. But man, that is a hell of a lot of investment and rolling of the dice for a system that you can't look up and see how it's performing long term. So what I do is I use Kerdi Membrane, 1 piece down the wall, all the way across and back up again. So there is no break in the joint. So you can install Kerdi Membrane with thin set on the tile backer board, the Den Shield stuff, and you'll get a great performance. And then you have a shower that basically doesn't have a material in it that could go moldy. So it's a pretty long-term gig. It's another decent system. A lot of new home construction guys are using that now because they're still not really willing to invest in a proven waterproofing system. But that's kind of like a step in the right direction. So if you're looking for a 25 or 30 year shower, it'll probably work. But if you're looking for something that's your forever home, or you just want to be able to build it and not think about it, I would definitely suggest Schluter or even Weedy, right? Take the next step up. All right, Nasty Witch is asking me a question here. My basement has a what I would call chemical waste shower. Would this be a good lead? Wow. Would this be a good to being more? I have no idea what we are talking about. Let me try this again. You call it a chemical waste shower. I'd love to know what the rest of the world calls it, so I'm not in the dark here. Okay, so if you have a shower that is curbless in the basement, then you also have a floor drain for flooding. But that also means you have enough water that it's up above your tile, which means that almost everything else in the house is destroyed. So, yeah, it's in the right direction, but maybe a little bit too tall. All right, there we go. Vladimir Boychuk has got a super chat here. Vladimir says he's hi, Vlad. Cheers, man. He's a huge fan. You missed my question. Oh no, I have a weird French drain. Okay. It's a 1-inch gap around the basement perimeter with styrofoam inside in most places. Okay. Styrofoam probably uses a form, yeah. The French drain ends on a bucket with holes. Interesting. That's like an interior drainage issue. I'm wondering why they thought that was necessary, Vlad. There was a time during construction. I'd love to know when your house is built, but they used to have an issue. Here, I'll draw this out for you. You know, when a man spends $50 to get an answer to a question, I guess you got to go all in, eh? All right. Okay. Let me just draw this real quick, and then I'll get back over to you. Do I have paper towels? I got too much moisture here. Sorry, Vlad. Only take a second, guys. This is actually a really good topic of conversation. I'm sure you're all going to enjoy this. Okay. All right. So we got a footing. Okay. And then we've got a bunch of rocks. Okay. And these rocks come all the way up to here. Okay. And this is the room for all the plumbing pipes to run underneath the floor. And then there's rocks on top of that as well. And then what they do is they pour concrete. Okay. About the same height as the footing, sometimes a little bit higher. But this wall is your outside foundation wall. And this is the point where they have an issue. Right here. Okay. And because this is poured on one day and this is poured a few days later. So it's a cold joint. Now, generally speaking, the weeping tile is a pipe here. It's got the holes in it, wraps around the house. And so any groundwater that's coming up this way will get into this and travel around the house and then go to the lateral to the street. Now, eventually what happens, though, is if this house was built and they didn't have the black dimpled membrane, right, on the outside, which is supposed to go like this, okay, over the footing and then down to this weeping tile. If it didn't exist, then that cold joint that we talked about is a weak spot for water to enter in. So you have, let's say you got, I wish I had brown. Matt. Here's your ground level, all right? Now that's bad drainage. It should be more like this, okay? But if you have bad drainage, water builds up, okay? A lot of people have their downspout right by the house, and then they end up with this trough of water running down their foundation wall, right here. And there's no membrane. And then that water is going this way, but it's also trying to work its way into the house. And right here is that little corner. If I was to draw that a little bigger, I'd be like, footing, wall, okay, concrete floor. And when the water gets inside, this trough that you're talking about, when they poured the concrete floor, they probably use a little bit of rigid foam on the perimeter. And what it does is it creates a perimeter drain. So it's not a French drain because it doesn't actually, it's more of a water diversion system for when this fails, okay? And then it can collect. And that basket that you're talking about is somewhere in the floor, and it goes down here into all the gravel, all right? Which is below the weeping tile. And so this is always dry because the water gets up to about here, and then it gets into that tile, and it starts to drain it out. So this water would find its way into this basket and then be able to drain underneath your house. That's basically what you got. Hopefully that helps you understand. If you got more questions on that, Vlad, Matt, try to keep an eye out for Vlad if he has a follow-up on that, okay? I'd appreciate it. Thanks. Hopefully it helps, bud. But that's a great system for mitigating water on a house that you don't want to have to spend $20,000, $25,000 trenching and waterproofing, right? So if you find that that's not being used or you're not getting water in the house, great. If you're having water getting in the house, it's a message to you to fix the grading and get that slope working away from the building. All right. I'm not sure where you live, whether it's a freeze thaw or just lots of rain. But generally, if you got a basement, you're up north in a lot of cases. So make sure you keep an eye on your drainage. Make sure your downspouts have got even a heating cable in it, and you run it 4, 5, 6 feet away from the building. Right. That'll optimize the efficiency and minimize your risk. Okay. Cheers. Now we got a couple of other super chats here we got to get to now, Matt. Who do we got? What's first? Kyle? All right, Kyle. Jeff goes live. I send a super chat. Anything to help the guy who saved me so much time and money. Come to Spokane. That'd be Washington, I'm assuming. All right. This is maybe a good time to mention this. I'm going to do a shellfish. Yeah, that's like a seafood. I'm going to do a selfish plug. So, last year in 2021 in March, we were in the middle of our do-it-yourself tour, and I was going around doing speaking engagements and with small groups of people, so you could really we could really dive into your personal situations. We only did a few stops, and then we got called home because of COVID, and that really sucked. So we are planning a follow-up tour, only this time it's going to be a little different. You guessed it. We are going to be going out on the road later this fall, and we are coming to a city near you. And we're going to make a proper announcement about this later because we got a whole lot of behind the scenes things to do with it. But the idea is this. I'm going to come to your house and I want to strap on my tool belt and I'm going to come and donate a day and work with you at your place. How crazy is that? Right? I know. I could do a lot of taping in one day too, so I might be able to save your bacon. But we're going to do that. We're going to film. And we're going to do a whole what would Jeff do series, but we're going to do it on the road. So we can do consultations, or I can help you out with your project, or show you some tips and tricks. And we're just going to have a lot of fun doing that. So Spokane, Washington is not off the list. Let me tell you, we're planning on getting around a whole lot, probably 4 to 6 months, making content that way. We're filming like mad dogs. So we have inventory of regular how-to videos, and we're going to supplement that with this series. And hopefully everybody out there likes it and it's informative. And if you want to be a part of that, you're going to have to be a member, but we'll deal with the details on that later. And we don't have that announcement coming quite yet, but it is on the list. Now, the Boston stapler, that almost sounds like a serial killer, but that's cool. Hello. Doesn't it though? The Boston stapler. Man, hell of a staple. Staples you to death. All right. Hello. I love your honesty about products and general building techniques. Okay, sure. Quick question. Can I use a Schluter decoupling membrane as a subfloor? 1996, no plastic under the cement. And use laminate on top, no SB instead of DMX. Yes. Is the short form answer for that? You definitely can use Schluter membrane as a barrier. Now here's the thing. You're going to blow your mind with this. All right. The Boston stapler hasn't asked this yet, but if you use the Schluter Ditra membrane, instead of the regular, which is about the same price, you also leave yourself the opportunity to, at a later date, introduce electric heating cable into the membrane, because that's what Ditra is for the heat system. And you can have in-floor heating if you want it. Now, if you go with the regular membrane, you'd have to rip it all out and put in a new membrane again. So if you're going to put something down, put down the Ditra, at least you got the option down the road to put in the electric heat. I'm just saying, right? Now, if you're going to do Dietrich heat and then the electric heat, then what you want to do with that then is you want to cover it with a floor leveler, just a thin layer, just to make it smooth so that the heat distributes evenly, okay? That's the secret. Kyle's like super crazy. I have a basement home theater. I plan with some unique challenges. I'll wait to work on it until you decide where you're going. Yes, you're not an idiot. All right. Now, having said that, we got a lot of members. So it's not like there's 9 of you and I only have 9 homes to go to, right? But we'll see how that works out, Kyle. Cheers, man. All right. All righty. Levi wants to know, do you think Drylok works painting the concrete wall? You know what? Here's what I know. Anything that wants to try to lock out moisture from the inside is going to fail. Now, it might work for a little while, but it's going to fail. Water will win. The question you want to ask yourself is, do they use it to fix holes in submarines? If not, it'll fail. The water pressure in basement is absolutely insane. People think it's passive, but it's not. All right. All that soil holding tons of water, pushing on whatever hole. I'm telling you right now, if you need Drylok, it's because you don't have good drainage away from your property. And your ground is holding too much moisture. And that's just the bottom line. Now, if you want to use Drylok, go ahead, and maybe it'll slow things down. Maybe you'll get a couple of dry years, but it'll fail sooner or later. That's all there is to it. Oh, Paul is in the house. Yeah, I try, Paul. I mean, what's a man to do? When you know what works and you know what doesn't and you don't share it, it seems almost rude, Like, I get tired of seeing people have these failures of installations and sending me pictures and telling me their stories. And I'm like, let's just start clearing the air, because, man, it's like the whole economy is designed to really let you guys screw up. All right? Let's just get into that while we've got a minute. And then we'll get back to Jordan's question. I'm gonna rant just a bit. All right, guys? Here we go. Jeff's rant. Bum, bum, bum. I'm still waiting for my soundtrack on that. Yeah, we'll work on that. A while back, I've mentioned this more than once, that I believe that homeowners are getting a really bad shake. And here's the deal. If you are a homeowner, you have to pay full retail for everything you do, because you're not organized into one group. But if you were all organized into one group, like on our channel, and we organized you and took that buying power to the resources that are out there, you would find everybody lining up to do business with you. And that's what we're working on right now. All I know is this. The world is changing. Things are getting crazy expensive. There's way too many opinions out there. I'm really hoping that we can develop a community where I can give you good information, that you can have successful renovations, and along with all of that, supplies that are reasonable prices, right? And that's what we're working on. So we got some announcements coming soon. I'm not going to share it tonight. I have to wait until the ink is dry on the paper. But needless to say, I had to start up another corporation in order to do the distribution side. So when all that is said and done, we will bring all that information to you soon. All right. Vlad is saying he had to cut the channel in some places. There's a lot of effervescence. Yeah. Frame with metal on top of pressure treated lumber. Keep the content coming. Yeah. The salt is just a matter. That's just evidence. When you got that salt coming through your wall, that's evidence you don't have a waterproofing barrier on the outside of your wall. Okay. That's all that is. And it's not going to hurt. It doesn't cause any issues. It will discolor grout on shower walls. Just as a side note. So don't go building your tile right on your concrete wall. It'll be a disaster. All right. Jordan had a question here. He's a member, or she's a member. I don't even know. Never met Jordan. Okay. What should I do to finish the corner between a sound resistant, resilient channel ceiling and regular wall? Oh, yeah, that's good. They have a acoustic caulking. Okay. So there's acoustic sealant, which is the black gooey stuff. That's for framework. But between drywall and floors or drywall and drywall, there's acoustic caulking. Okay, the same guys that make the green glue make an acoustic sealant, which is a caulking joint. It's caulking joints. Okay, and that's what you can use there. Wherever you have an airspace of any kind, it's an enemy. So seal it up with that stuff. All right. Cheers. Herman is asking me. He's got a super chat here. Is it common to have sprinkler system in a residential home? Should I be worried about something setting it off and water damage and the basement is unfinished? So recommendation on luxury vinyl plank versus tile flooring. Thank you. Wow. Okay. Is it common? Go back on that. I just got to work that through. No, it's not common to have a sprinkler system in the residential home. It can be common if the residential home has got a shared wall with another unit and it's used to be a split unit or something like that, right? That's a thought. And then there's always the people that are like, you know what? I'm in commercial building. I do sprinkler systems. I'm renovating my basement. Dude, I'm putting in sprinkler system because that's the best protection against fire. And they're right. And it doesn't make it a bad thing, but it's not normal. Should you be worried about something setting it off? Yeah, fire. And then you'll be glad you had it. They're pretty resilient. They don't go off easy, or they wouldn't have it in every major building in the world. The basement's unfinished, so you want a recommendation on luxury vinyl plank versus tile floor. Okay, it all comes down to comfort. If you're going to be wearing shoes all the time, I would tile the floor, right? But if you're not going to be wearing shoes and you got kids and pets, then I would go vinyl. Just saying, right? They're both up there as far as resilient and performance, but in basements, tile floor generally tend to be really cold. So if you're going to do tile, step it up a notch, dude. Go with the Dietrich heat system underneath your tile floor. Boom. All of a sudden you got heat where you want it in the basement, which is at the floor. Comfort factor through the wazoo. And if you live in the right zone, you're going to get your money back and you'll make bank on a heated floor in a basement on resale. It's a great feature. Alrighty. Where the heck are we? Let's go down.
You got super chats.
I do? Oh, look at this. My goodness. All right, Magic Boy. Can I frame and drywall over the existing R12 half wall or rip it out and put R20? House was built in 2000 in Ontario. Yeah. You have a half wall that's R12. So it's the top half, right? Yes, you have every right, if you leave it alone, to finish that 2x4 to the floor and add more R12 insulation. You do not have to remove it because it was already up to code at the time of installation. And if you don't touch it, you don't have to change it. All right. And to be brutally honest with you, if you do a good job with your vapor barrier and you have a good R12 insulation, in most basements, you're not going to feel much different between that and R20. They changed the code. We spend more money to get about the same result. I don't know why. Right? Someone out there is trying to save the planet. I guess that's pretty much the only reason I can say they're doing it. You know, if they really wanted to save the planet, the government would give a tax incentive for anybody who bought windows to install on their house to upgrade their windows, instead of just if you purchased and had paid somebody to install it for you, because then it moves it from just 20% of the population that can afford that to everybody can afford new windows now. Just saying. We could save the planet and a lot of energy efficiency if you let everybody change their windows and get a bit of a deal. But if it's only for rich people who can hire contractors, you know, whatever. You do you. Thomas is saying he read about using roof shingles to level or flatten a basement floor when it's very bad, which is your case, to save money over self-leveling product. What do you think about that? Any other tip? Yeah, Thomas, I don't know. I've never used it. I mean, you're basically using it as a shim. I guess if it's not an organic roof shingle, it's just plastic and asphalt granules. So you do you. I mean, it might work. Might not, but it might work. There's other ways to level a floor without using floor leveler. I'll just say that. While we're at it, if you're looking and you got crazy floors and you want to fix them, Tip of the day, research gypcrete and see if it's affordable in your area. It's like somebody piping in liquid gypcrete soup, all right? It's already a self-leveler. And they can fill the whole basement and flatten it all out for you just by pouring that sucker in there. Now, it is lousy to adhere to, so you can't tile on it, all right? My experience, I don't care what they say, you can't tile on top of that stuff. It just will not bond. If you ever get in a moisture event or anything else, it's a nightmare. But it's great structural. So if you're going to put in floating floors, great way to fill a basement. Mark Ward, he's in Wisconsin. And what are the moisture barrier requirements for basement walls and floors? Where do I find those requirements online? Okay, so Mark, you want to research building technology for what zone you're in. So first, research your zone because they change. It's a weird map following weather patterns. Okay, it's not just 49th parallel, 47th parallel. They're all over the place. So check out which zone you're in, and then I would even consider building. If you're in Wisconsin, you're going to have winter. You're going to have vapor barrier, almost guaranteed. Right? But you can always research it that way, and you can find out for sure. Jordan's just sent me a message. Thanks. Tips have helped me get a ton of confidence to take on more projects over the last year. Do you use paper drywall tape over the acoustic caulking? Yes. Yeah, if it's on the finished layer, definitely. You can even use a plastic putty knife. Do the caulking and use the knife and make it nice, clean, sharp edge so that you can tape over top. And you'll be fine, Jordan. All right. Cheers. And enjoy that soundproof theater. Sounds like it's going to be a good time. All right. Oh, wow. That back feels like crap. All right. How is the idea of basement on empty plot made out of shipping containers? Bad. Don't do it. Next. That's like saying, hey, I'm going to go to the moon. I'm only going to take my helmet off for a minute. Just don't be creative when it comes to your house, guys. It's not worth it. Like, if you want creative, there's lots of new emerging technologies that have got engineer stamps associated with it. Go look at that stuff. But if an engineer isn't going to put a red seal on what you're doing, don't ask me. I am not going to rubber stamp your crazy ideas. It's not going to happen. Okay. Question. Okay, Awesome Idiots, who's a member, bought a house this winter. Last owners poured concrete pad, either too thick or frost raised it flush to the back garage door. When the snow melted, I had water coming under the door. Is best fix to raise the door? Your best plan is to send me pictures of what you're talking about on the forum. Okay? If you're not sure, just go to the homepage. Now you're a member, just go to the community tab, and we'll probably update it again this weekend. There's a message there. It's 2 weeks old, 5 or 6 messages down. It tells you all the information you need so that you can get on the forum and ask me questions and send me pictures, and then I can talk to you about that there. Really hard to deal with frost and heaving and water without seeing pictures, okay? And I want close-up, and I want, like, wide shot. I want to be able to check out your whole water diversion around the property. What's your grading look like, too? I need to see all that. All right? Cheers. Thank you. James says, when building an L-shaped wall with metal studs, one wall hits the ceiling between the 2 supports in the ceiling. What do you do? Blocking. Here we go again. I keep on mentioning this. It's a basic building technique called blocking. And so here is my 2x10 floor joist. And here's my 2x10 floor joist. And what you're talking about is this is the ceiling height here, right? And as long as you're building across the joist, you've got somewhere to attach to. But if you're in the middle of it, what do? Because your studs are coming up and there's nowhere to attach it. You simply take a 2x4 on the flat, okay? And you would nail in, or you can screw in, whatever you want to do. Now you got something you can attach to. That's all you need. Piece of cake. All right? Don't overcomplicate your life. Learning how to use blocking in those situations is a lifesaver. It's a really simple technique, but, you know, unless I've shown it in a video, you might not be exposed to the idea. Lord knows on TV, they go from telling everybody that everything was done, their basement is junk, to it's finished. They never show you how to do anything. Scott has got a question. It is now 10 after 7. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight. It's Jeff from Home Renovision. If you're just joining us, we're talking about basements. How to finish the darn things, especially during COVID. Options. And if you missed the first part of the show, make sure you watch the rerun later on tonight or on the weekend, okay? The first 20 minutes or so was all dedicated to building science and different options, and you can use that stuff. Scott has a question. He bought a house. Every interior doorknob is different. Is there a place to buy bulk doorknobs for cheap? Yeah, generally you can. Home Depot usually sells them in packages of 5, right? I don't know if you've seen them or not. All around, different building stores. All right. And maybe even on Amazon, Matt.
I'm just checking to see if you can Google doorknob wholesaler.
Yeah.
Oh, Wayfair's selling them. We got a Wayfair link if you're in business. Yeah, you know, we just added that Wayfair link to the website, guys. So you can check that out. If you're a tradesman or you own a business and you got a tax ID, you can sign up for Wayfair Business and get better pricing. So all the pricing you see on the site is the regular pricing. And then when you go to the checkout, there's a discount. Pretty sure that's how it works. We're still learning about it, so I haven't done a video yet, but feel free to check it out. But generally speaking, if you want bulk doorknobs, you can get them in packages of 10. You, in a lot of cases, need an account at a place like Richelieu Hardware. You can go to Lee Valley Tools. They might be able to help you out as well. So Sandy wants to know how many of us are coming when we hit the road. No, actually, Sandy, it's just me, Michelle, and Zeus, the dog. Yeah, at this point, that's all we're doing. Matt's in school full-time right now, so he can't go anywhere. So it's going to be interesting.
I do have a week break, August 2nd.
Right. Well, we'll drag you somewhere. Yeah. We're going to be teaching Michelle how to film or hiring local videographers, most likely. I would imagine that's what's going to happen. David's got a question here. He's a member. He just joined Money in the Bank. Cheers. What would your basement framing technique for lower heights? 87 inches. You'd like subfloor. 2 layers of 5/8 drywall, but wondering if I should skip the strap in to save half an inch. Okay, here's the deal. Fire code requires you to have 78 inches. 87 is still lots of room. Okay, so if you have a short basement, don't cheap out on your technology. If you're going to finish it and you're going to spend $5 or $10 a square foot on material, for God's sake, go to 11 and get the soundproofing you want. Right? Don't cheap out. You can put all your lighting in with recessed LED pot lights or recessed LED square lights. If you're not sure, go to our homepage, search out LED lights. We did a video dedicated to all the new technology. That stuff's amazing, and that means there's no lights hanging down off the ceiling, right? So you got all the headspace you need. So unless you're, 84 inches tall, you got all the room you need for a subfloor and good soundproofing. So feel free and go for it. Besides, if you've got a low height in the ceiling in a basement, it's only an issue when you're walking in and out of the basement. Once you sit down, you forget that it's a low basement. It doesn't even matter. You're just glad to have a finished, quiet space. So do it so you can enjoy the space when you're there enjoying it, which is hours at a time. And don't worry about that 35 or 40 seconds when you're leaving or coming. Doesn't matter, right? Okay, that's my best advice about basements. Unless you got to literally bend over, do it the way you want to have it finished for performance. And don't worry about the height. It's not an issue. Okay. How do you join the forum? Well, you have to join the YouTube membership program, and then we created a forum so that you guys can join in. All right? Because YouTube didn't have a forum or a place for you guys to communicate. On our forum, you can send me pictures, and on the forum, you can jump in and you can read other people's questions, and you can chime in and share your experience if you like. It's always appreciated. So feel free. Okay? Okay. Babe in the Moon is a new member this week. Cheers. You're looking for windows. You need 2 plus a sliding door. In your experience, if I can find a wholesaler to sell to me, will there be a minimum order? Thanks. Yeah. Here's the thing. Wholesalers in windows, generally speaking, are, you got to set up an account. And they don't want to set up an account for 2 windows. If you're going to set up an account, they want to hear you're doing a whole house, right? Before they'll even take time to set up an account. So there really isn't a whole lot of options out there for you. You might have more options in the next couple of weeks. But I can't share any information right now. All right. Ryan has a question. No, he doesn't. Yes, he does. He does. I have a raised garage with wood floor. Should I close in underneath the garage and insulate, or just insulate between the 2x10 floor joists as I would a wall? Well, how about that? That's a really tricky one, Ryan. If I was going to insulate that floor, I would use spray foam, because you're going to want a vapor barrier. You want to have a closed cell situation there. I am not sure what's underneath that garage. Is it more living space, or is it 2x10 pressure treated over gravel? Is there, like, there's a couple other things. I can't give you building science unless I understand the building in totality. Maybe you want to send us a picture and jump in the forum, Ryan. Okay, because I'm thinking of 3 different construction techniques, and all of them have different answers. So the safest thing for me to say publicly without knowing what's going on is say spray foam. But there are more cost-effective options depending on what your situation is. So if you want to send me a picture, I can definitely help out. All right. Tony's saying, family going to move into my basement. 2,000 square feet. Second HVAC or heated floor. All right, Tony. So you got a couple of issues here. 2,000 square foot basement is a big space. I'm guessing it's going to be at least 3 bedroom. You got to add up how many bedrooms are in your house, because you might be in need of a heat recovery ventilation system. Depending on the age of the home, you won't have it. And that basically, it brings in fresh air, but it saves the heat from leaving the building, because you need fresh air in a basement. When you go to construct that, you're going to seal it up tighter than a drum, and you're going to, insulate it and seal it and caulk it and spray foam it. And then people need air to breathe. So you got to have a heat recovery ventilation system. My thing is this: a good insulated basement already has an HVAC system, and you can put in a inline smoke detector to pass code for most situations in that, but you can't just do this and not get it permitted. So, you're asking me questions about, hey, if I don't tell anybody I'm doing it, hey, Tony, definitely get somebody in there to do drawings, do it right, and make sure that you're protected against liability in case there's a fire. Okay. And make sure that it's a safe place for people to live, please. Let's all be decent humans, but you want to make sure you got fresh air. You won't need second HVAC, but you might want to consider putting in some heated flooring, like in the bathrooms, for instance, right? Because it's just uncomfortable, and you'll definitely get a larger rent out of it if you do that. Don't know where to go with that question. You're in Chicago. I get it, Tony, but still, you don't have to ask me a question like that if you're getting a permit, because those design details are already in the drawings, right? And that's what scares me. So I'm just going to walk away. Gianni, Jeff, when are you planning on being in Minneapolis? Don't keep us hanging, brother. Well, we're going to be heading out around closer to winter in November, and I'm going to guarantee you we're not going to Minneapolis first. I'm not leaving Canada to go drive to snow. So it'll be on the backside of the trip, unless we end up leaving earlier, and that's doable. We just need to A, have a vaccine shot, and B, I got to have a certain amount of work tied up and under control where I am right now before I can take off. So if I get all my videos filmed and my work is all up to speed and I can leave in October, then maybe we'll hit the Great Lakes regions first before the snow comes. I don't know. We'll see how it works. We'll let you know soon enough. Oh, there you go. Michelle updated the community tab for everybody who wants to know about how to get the forum. Thanks, baby. You rock. All right. Nora is a new member in the Money in the Bank Club. Do we have a question from Nora around here somewhere? No? We'll keep an eye out for that. Carrie Pruitt. Hey, Jeff. Love the video. So helpful. I have a walkout basement in, I'm going to guess that means Northeast Tennessee. Ranch style, 1968. Now that is a really nice spot to be. What is your preferred floor covering for a garage type tool room storage room? Wow. Yeah, epoxy coating. Right? Because it's like almost bulletproof and you can clean it. I would go epoxy. And if you wanted something, even a step up from that, you could go with vinyl tile, but I would go epoxy. I think that's it's a brilliant floor, right? And it even, you lay it on thick enough, it even removes some of that impact stress that comes with concrete, right? Because it's got a bit of a soft feel to it. It's really nice. Okay, cheers. Another member, Gonzales. Wow, am I saying that right? I can't even tell. Sorry if I got that wrong, but cheers. Welcome to the club. Rob has got a question here. Wood lap siding, good shape, quarter fanfold, Tyvek tape, then vinyl being applied. Okay, proper application question. Also, window frames need to be built out with 1x4 for J channel to butt up to. Oh, okay. Yeah, right. There's another option there, Ron. I know it's a little more expensive to add brick mold, but yeah, I get the 1x4. Consider doing the 1x4 in PVC. Okay, so that your whole exterior facade is of a similar material in nature, and you're not reintroducing wood back into a vinyl exterior because it'll deteriorate and cause issues a lot faster than any other part of the house. Super chat. No question, just spread the knowledge. Cheers, man. Like, hey, happy to help. What else am I gonna do on a Thursday night? Sit back and watch TV? Come on. I'd rather be here to help you guys. All right. Robert's got a question. Another super chat. You recommended 10/8 plywood thickness for a tiling subfloor. Yes, that's 1.25 inches, correct? 10/8 or 20/16 or 40/32. Is Hardybacker better? Is 10/8 a minimum? As I see, Hardybacker thinner than 10/8. Yeah, so there's a 1/4 inch Hardybacker out there. In the right situations, it can be used. I'm not giving that advice because I don't find enough people are researching enough about the right situation to then apply that knowledge. So I'm not going to lead people down that path. But to answer your question, if you have 2x10 floor joists or engineered floor joists and they're 16-inch on center and you have good, healthy, strong 5/8 subfloor that's been glued and screwed to your members and you want to add a 1/4 inch subfloor, then yeah, go right ahead. It's the cement between the wood and the cement board, and the cement between the cement board and the tile. That's the strength in that application, not the cement board. It's just really good at bonding the cement that you're going to use to apply that with to the tile. We could do this as a video one day, but I could literally take 1/4 inch cement board and attach it to a tile, set it over floor joists and stand on it, and it won't deflect. Okay? Because the cement is so good that bonds all that together, and it makes even a cheap ceramic tile strong. So that's why that works. The problem is that in a grand scheme of things, sometimes your tile joints are in the middle of your subfloor between the floor joists, and that's where the deflection happens, and that's where the grout ends up cracking. It's just not strong enough in every scenario. So if I'm going to put all that time and energy into tiling a floor, I am damn well going to make sure that I'm not going to have a problem later. That's all I'm saying, right? It's a $100 savings over the Schluter membrane, right? Why would you save $100 over something that's guaranteed to work? You're taking a risk. I'm just saying. Or hell, go to 1/2 inch cement board instead of the 1/4 inch. Guaranteed not to have a problem there either. I don't see the reason why we're trying to save a few bucks. I just don't get it. So you got two options. You go cheap with the cement board or that 1/2 inch, great. Or if you want to go flush with some other flooring in the house, go to the Schluter membrane and you'll be fine. All right, enough of that. I'm ranting. I'm mumbling and jumbling. What do you do for laminate steps when the flooring doesn't make a bullnose tread? Yeah, that's a great question. You're obviously shopping in the wrong store, Mike. If you go to the box stores, they don't sell flooring that has bullnose. But if you go to almost every other flooring supplier in the city and you say, I need flooring and I need bullnose, they have the suppliers for you. Enough said. Okay? Shop in a box store, be disappointed. It's a corner store, guys. You don't go grocery shopping at your corner store. Don't go shopping for flooring at a box store if you're not just putting a floor in a bedroom. If you need nosing, go to a real flooring store. Because now you got to up your game and get a supplier who's going to supply not just the flooring, but the nosings as well. Okay? I know. It's crazy. All right. David wants to know, can you seal DriCore floor joints with tuck tape as a vapor barrier? No. Because the moisture's already got access to the OSB. And if you end up with moisture under the floor, that OSB is going to absorb it and swell. That's just the way it is. That's why it's a failed system in my mind. That's why I changed my system. Because DriCore works 25 years. But if you're going to build a really nice basement and put in a kitchenette or a bar or real expensive flooring, and you don't want a 25-year basement. You want a 50-year basement, right? So you go all in. That's why it's an option, but it's not the best alternative. Just saying. The best alternative is to bite the bullet and buy expensive subfloor, right? I mean, what else can you do? Or wait till next year. Oh, Matt's giving me the driving. I'm in the driver's seat now. Matt has been in class all day. He needs to go to the bathroom. That's not a big surprise. All right. Wow. Great name. Can't pronounce it. Can you mix fiber cement, hardy board, with standard cedar mill planking? I'm looking to repair some water damaged siding around the house with something better without doing the whole house near term. No, just use wood and then cover your house with a house wrap. Don't get creative. It's not necessary. Okay. House wrap will keep all of your wood dry. So just get the wood. You're going to want to have that flexibility. The expansion contraction on the exterior of your house, it's more of an issue. So go wood and it'll all grow and shrink together. If you introduce a different material, now they're going to delaminate and you're going to have issues. So don't do that. Okay, Mark says his basement ceiling is 78 inch, but 74 inches at the beam and ventilation. Is this going to be a code issue? What are the options? No, it won't be a code issue. Actually, what you're going to end up, Mark, is you're going to get your inspector to give you a variance. Okay, they're going to give you a pass because your house is built without the capacity of giving them what they want. And they're going to say, it's okay. You're allowed to finish it. Thanks for pointing it out. That's what they're going to say. Okay? What they won't allow is brand new construction to break the codes. But they'll allow older houses to get in under the radar. So don't be too worried about it. If you have an inspector that gives you any hassle about it whatsoever, all right, they have an employer just like everybody else in this world, and go talk to that guy. Go talk to the head of the department at the city of whatever, or municipality or state, right? All the way up to the president of the United States, somebody's going to give you a pass. And if they don't, just say, okay, thanks, and then go and finish your basement without a permit. What else is a man to do? All right. Yeah, you heard me. If the city's not going to work with you, just then go finish it and don't tell them, and then they don't get their tax revenue. But you see, that's the whole point. They're going to let you finish it because they want the tax revenue. They're going to charge you more tax when you finish the basement. So that's why they say, oh, it's okay. Don't worry about it. We'll let you off the hook. All right? So that's what's going on there, Mark. You're going to end up paying a little bit more in taxes, and they're more than happy to allow you the permission slip to give them more money. Yep. That's what it all comes down to, isn't it? Okay. Nora has a question. Question about flooring. Tongue and groove with no subfloor. Oh, okay. So that is your subfloor. The tongue and groove. 1940s home, over crawl space. Yeah. Can I use it by insulating and vapor barrier between joists, or is it a no-go? God, usually homes that have crawl spaces are in different zones, right? And so we don't really vapor barrier there as much. I am on Nora 725. Thank you. If you have tongue and groove wood over a crawl space in a 1940s home, then really the best thing to do if you're going to put in insulation, if you're in a winter climate at all and you want to have a vapor barrier, you can always do it from underneath and follow the joist cavity and then stop your insulation, then put in plywood after that. But that's a lot of work. Nora, here's the deal. I'm going to ask you to send me some pictures of your crawl space right from the trapdoor. Just okay. And then in that email on the forum, you tell me where you live. Okay. And then I can give you a better answer. There's just way too many variables. The Boston stapler is back.
This one yet or no?
Thanks for the answer. Pretty much wanted to use a decoupling membrane to subfloor as I had extra and wanted to make sure it was okay. Oh, also it's cheaper than OSB and dimpled membrane. Yeah, you're right. It is. It's a great idea. Matthew has a super chat question. Matthew Fenty sent us 20. Isn't that something? Have a 100-year-old house, 500 square feet of a wavy concrete basement. Yep. 200 square feet, 9x9 old tiles, no vapor barrier. Was going to encapsulate tiles with leveler, Mapai Cemental. Yep. Then DMX, then 2x2 OSB subfloor. Yes. Life proof. Thoughts? Lovely. Great assembly. Matthew, you got it all. A, you're avoiding your problem with your asbestos. B, you're going to level it off so your subfloor is going to perform well. And your life-proof flooring is also going to perform well because it doesn't have to follow all the dips and crannies. Brilliant. That is an absolutely perfect way to go about it. Don't worry about what anybody else in the world has to say. You got this. That is absolutely perfect. And cheers. Thank you very much. Somebody's been paying attention. Awesome. All right, Matty, let's scroll me down, buddy.
Down.
We're live. It is 7:33. Do you know where your children are? Here we are. Hey, John had a question there. We missed it. Hey, Jeff, can I have a double sanitary tea? 1.5 all around, but 2-inch going down. With a shower on one side, bathroom on the other. What? John, what are you asking me here? You got sanitary tea. You mean a drain? Yeah, so 1.5 from the fixture, 2-inch going down means that there's also 1.5 inch going up. And that 2-inch going down means wet vent. And it's a bigger pipe so it can allow water to drain at the same time as allowing the air to come after it. All right? And so what that wet vent is doing is saying, hey, I got a sink and I got water coming down that sink on occasion, but it's also the vent for the shower drain. And if the shower's on and the sink is on, it's still a big enough pipe to allow enough air to keep the shower from having a problem and sucking all of the moisture out of the P-trap. That's what it is. Yeah, you're allowed that. Not an issue. All right. So what you end up with is a 2 on the bottom, a 1.5 on the front, and a 1.5 on the top. That's a perfectly acceptable assembly. We actually did a video about all of those plumbing issues. So you can always just pop into the home page, do the search, and go plumbing, rough in, or something like that. I think you'll find it. And it was pretty extensive. I did a whole layout for a whole bathroom plumbing underneath the concrete floor. And I explained a lot of that kind of stuff in there too. It'll clear up a lot of the misconceptions and questions. Helps you understand drains and venting and all the different assemblies and codes and what's acceptable and what's not in a lot of cases. Josh wants to know if I got any videos on how to repair walls that have plaster instead of drywall. Yeah, I don't have a video yet, but you want to know the secret? Don't tell anybody this. Paint your wall with a flat oil, and then you can use regular drywall compound. Yep. That's all it is. Flat oil. You can prime anything in a house with flat oil and then use any new modern material on top of it. It bonds old with new. End the discussion. Okay? Now, don't use glossy oil. Use flat. But yes, it works every time. All right? That's the secret. I know. You don't have to go and research old materials or nothing. Just quick paint job, flat oil, and then move on. All right, Matt, where are we here? Carla, best wall paint for house with kids. Bulletproof. You know what, Carla, there's a lot of really good paints out there now. The best paint on the market is actually not a brand, it's a technology. And the technology is this 100% acrylic additive in your latex paint. Okay. Basically, after 30 days after painting that stuff, it makes the surface washable and scrubbable. Now, different brands have different claims to fame regarding their technology, but they use ceramic microsphere technology in their paint, all kinds of fancy stuff to make the stuff bulletproof so that you can scrub it with a green scrubber that you would use on an old pizza oven. I'm telling you right now, the secret here is not the paint, it's the curing time. Most of the really good paints tell you need 3 or 4 weeks before you wash it. Okay. But you can apply that paint and then kick the kids out of the house. Don't let them back in for 30 days and then you'll be fine. All right. Steve's got a question. Hey, Jeff, I have a concrete basement floor that is 3 inches higher, over 8 feet. It's high at the wall. Belly's in the middle of the room. Yeah. Old houses, right? They throw in the concrete and the guy walks in there with a helicopter and he just kind of pushes it all up to the edges and smears it all out and leaves the drain in the middle. Right? Research Gypcrete. You just do a little drain extension and they'll pipe it in, self-leveler. All right? I think it's more cost-effective than leveler by bags and doing it yourself. I still have some more research to do on that because that's what I'm telling you to research because I think it might be different prices depending on where you are. What is with that? All the thumbs down and the vomiting from Aaron Schwartz. Somebody get rid of that. Ugh, don't need to see that. All right, there we go. Thank you. My goodness. Jealous. All right. What would I do if my toilet farts? Who did you ask me that?
Oh, that's your wife.
Trust me, honey, it's not the toilet. It's just me being incognito. Paul just sent us a little bit of love for no particular reason. Thanks, Paul. Cheers, man. Appreciate it. Okay. Look. Okay. When my toilet flushes, my P-trap in my sink farts. That's what it is. What should I do? Well, unfortunately, what that means is that somewhere in your system, you don't have enough fresh air coming to your fixture. So you either have a blockage. If it used to work and it doesn't work now, there's a blockage in your air system. So bird's nest, or it was in the attic and the insulation got disturbed and the pipe got covered, or something along that line, or there's enough blockage in the pipe just from, hair and all that other stuff, right? That there's just too much vacuum. It creates suction. So try cleaning out your drain for your sink first and see if that makes any difference. And if it doesn't work, and it used to work, go and check to see if the stack on the roof is clear and unobstructed. All right. Sometimes in the winter, it even snows over. It shouldn't because it usually melts. But if you get a heavy enough snow fast enough, it can cap it off and you can have a few bad days. But usually that snow ends up melting because the sewer gases and stuff are warm and they melt. Anyway, situations like that, if it's a house you're just new to and it has a problem, it just wasn't plumbed properly in most cases. If you get more than 3 feet away from a fixture from the main stack, there's not enough ventilation going to that. There's too much back pressure, and that's where you get the farting, right? It's usually just bad plumbing practices, but sometimes it's something else, like you got to clean out the drain. So try that simple stuff first before you start ripping out walls. Scott has bathroom tile. They put 1/2 tile on the walls. Okay. The top of the tile edge is black grout. Yeah, that looks nasty. Could I put quarter round molding on the tile edge, or what else to cover? It looks ugly. How to attach? Yeah, right. It looks ugly. So you're talking about you got tile baseboard and they grouted it in. That's common. It is ugly. You're right. I hate the look, and there should be tile edging there, but it's not a building code issue. It's just those of us who care about what our finished work looks like, use it. If you really, really, really wanted to fix that, you could take a grinder and you can cut out the grout, and then you can get the grinder blade in behind. And I mean, it's messy, right? You could take the tile off and then reinstall it with the proper trim and then regrout it. But you risk damaging the tile. And if you don't have any more, sometimes you're best just to leave it alone. But you could use the grinder to clean off all the grout on the surface. Okay. And then just, you can buy aluminum square, little aluminum squares. Okay. Like 3/8 by 3/8. And you can actually hot glue that to the wall in place. All right. And then make it look like a tile edging. That's the only cheat that I know of that you can work. But it's pretty picky work. You better be pretty talented with a glue gun. With the glue gun. Ryan, cheers. Welcome to the membership. Hey, Matt O'Connor joined the membership. Cheers, guys. What do we got here? I need a question. Somebody ask me a question. What kind of flooring do I recommend for basements? Any kind of flooring is good for a basement. The question becomes, what do you really want? And then how old is your house? And then what steps do you need to take in order to create a situation where you can install it? Price point, vinyl plank around the concrete. If you're just looking for a cheap, quick fix, you can go laminate with a 2-in-1 underlay. If you're going to use a subfloor, there's engineered hardwood out there you can nail into the subfloor. You can even add a 1/2-inch plywood and then nail actual hardwood. But you got to have the right humidity control and everything else. So it's tricky. But anything can go in a basement. Even tile. Tile is great in a basement. You just gotta decide what's best for your living style, and then you can work out the assembly afterwards. But cheers. Joseph has a question. He's got a 100-year-old home with no vapor barrier insulation in the basement floor. That doesn't surprise me. Best option for flooring. Right there. Insulated subfloor panel. Okay. It's a vapor barrier and a thermal break. You can put anything you want on that. That's the best answer to the question. When you get to 100 years old, you need drainage, you need insulation, you need something solid. That's what I would do. Ryan is renovating a 1950s basement in Manitoba. House is built with floor joists poured into the foundation wall. Nice. How rotten are they? Yeah, I'm worried about humidity and not having anywhere to go, considering using Certain membrane. On what? This is the problem with the 1950s, right? It was the Wild West. Everybody was experimenting. It's a vapor retarder that increases its permeability when the wall cavity has high humidity. I don't buy it. I think it is a weatherproofing membrane that is permeable. No different than Tyvek or Typar. Just a different manufacturer. And I love that kind of stuff. Okay? Because if you can keep everything dry, then if you have too much humidity in the house, at least it has a chance to get out. All right? The other thing you can do is in that basement, you could also put in something where you can keep an eye on the humidity in that basement, like a humidistat, like a thermometer, but for humidity, right? And then you could have an extraction fan in the basement as well. And so you could have the ability to get rid of extra moisture if you needed to. The other thing you can do in a basement like that is you can add in a couple of electric baseboard heaters, which will zap the extra moisture and make the place a lot more comfortable, and it'll also protect your wood. Other thing you can do is you can paint your floor joists with an oil-based paint and seal them against absorbing humidity out of the air if you have a humid basement. Wow, that was a hell of a lot of good stuff for $5, eh? Did I just see a super chat from Sandy Rose? Yeah. Well, for now, I guess I have to send chocolate, Sandy. I can't get down there. I can't get to South Carolina or North Carolina. Hell, I can't get across the Great Lakes right now. But yeah, I hear what you're saying. All right. Thanks for being here tonight, doll. Appreciate it. No, you can't put wood on top of plateau. Not the finished wood anyway. You need something to attach the wood to. So you need at least a 5/8. I would even go 3/4 OSB if I'm going to put in actual hardwood, because the hardwood nailing system needs a cleat to go into something, and the membrane ain't going to do it, right? Oh, wow. Okay, it's 7:45. We're almost getting to the end of this here, guys. Going to go another few minutes. Got questions? Let me know. Can you put drywall on mobile home ceiling, or is it too heavy? No, it's not too heavy. Yeah, definitely. If your mobile home can support a pigeon, it can hold drywall. Don't worry about it. Drywall is only heavy because it's big, but per square foot, it's not that heavy. The ultralight stuff they sell nowadays is really light. It's definitely an option. All right, James has a question. We just bought a house with oak railing and base for the rails. Is there a way to raise a floating floor to be the same height as the base? Or what would Jeff do? Ah, I see. I see. So you've got like a 3/4 piece of oak on OSB, and you want to install a floating floor, and you want to have it not look like junk. Yeah, I get that. That oak railing is designed to be installed with a hardwood floor or carpet, which is probably what you have now if you're asking this question. If you want to finish a floating floor up against something like that, I'm definitely going to suggest the vinyl, because you can cut it to fit almost exact, and you don't need to use any special trims. All right. And if it doesn't go all the way to the top of the oak, it's fine. It'll look just great. Just make sure that you start your installation there. Okay. So you take your vinyl plank. All right. And you're going to want to table saw for this. All right. And you're going to want to take off either this little piece over here or the little piece over here. Both sides of this picture have a little bit of a tongue on it, okay? One's the tongue, one's the groove, but they both have an extension past the picture. So you want to just set your table saw up for like a 1/4 inch or something, and you want to rip that off, and then you want to set that cut line right up against your wood. And that's going to be the beginning of your flooring installation, okay? That's what I suggest you do. All the best with that, James. Cheers. All right. So we're Mark Miller. Thanks for sharing your yeah. Thanks for sharing your money. Cheers, buddy. I appreciate. Listen, I'm happy to help. Like anytime you want to learn something, if I've got an answer to the question, I'll answer it. If I don't, I'll just tell you I don't. I don't know everything. My God. Regardless, don't listen to my wife. She's got a sign in her office that says I don't use Google. My husband knows everything. I don't know if that's a compliment or a diss. Roger Wakefield has a question here. How does plumbing in Canada compare to plumbing in the US? Almost identical. We just have some different materials that we're using. So we have a 3-inch pipe. We have a 4-inch underneath concrete. We have a 2-inch for wet vents. We got 1.5 for everything else. We use PEX. We use 1/2-inch copper. I mean, if you were a plumber and you just blindfolded a guy and put him on a plane and didn't tell him where he was going, he'd have a hard time knowing what country he was in working on a house. I'm telling you right now, it's almost dead ringer. Oh, that's a hell of a question. I wish it was more complicated. Aside from the fact that the further south you go, the more you see stuff that you won't see up north. Like, the water shut off to the house and a little green box at the end of the driveway. What the heck is that? But aside from that, there's no difference between Canadian plumbing and upper state New York. Right? So that's probably the best way to say it. Squiggly Frank, I'm going to guess, has a question. I have a drain in the middle of my laundry room. Yep. Will that affect the way I lay my vinyl floor? Will it want to separate because of the slope? Yes, it will. And so what I would suggest is you get a little piece of 3-inch pipe and you sit it there and you do a little floor leveler around that drain and try to level it off a little bit. Okay? Because otherwise your vinyl floor is going to be peeling apart. It just makes a mess. You can't have something that's dimensionally the same covering a greater space because it has a dip. It won't close right. And it'll drive you nuts. So take the time to put a little floor leveler in there and piece of cake. Joshua G has a question. Thanks for everything. Do you have any videos on how to change cast iron plumbing to PVC? No, I don't. No, I don't think so. But you know what? The best part about this, Joshua, is do I have any of those gaskets or valves? No. Cast iron pipe, they have a new saw blade for the Sawzall now. So you can just cut the sucker right in half. We used to have to use a chain, and it was a chain cutting system, and it was 50-50 hit or miss if you're going to cut it or just blow the thing up. So it was kind of frustrating, but now you can just cut through a cast iron pipe, and they make cast iron pipe rubber seals that slide over the pipe and then have a gear drive gasket thing on it. And it's actually really efficient, right? So you can swap that out or put in a fitting or add a T or whatever you want nowadays. It works out real well. Hey, cheers, Tuco. Welcome to Money in the Bank. So that's an option. This is part of the problem with having a channel like this. I'm not working on clients' homes. I'm fixing my own. So I got to, find ways to have different experience options, which is one of the things that driving around is going to do. It's going to give us opportunities to go to houses that I wouldn't renovate otherwise, right? It's going to be pretty cool. Oh, yeah, okay. You're in Texas. There you go. It's a great place to visit. If you're a plumber, you've been busy. Texas has had some plumbing issues. All right. Oh, that's cool. All right, Matt. Well, let's go back. I'm doing a plumbing video with Roger. Well, we'll see. I mean, one of the things driving around is going to do is going to provide us opportunity to collaborate with other people. Well, I think it'll be fun. And ideally, we'll be able to collaborate with other people on projects where we can help other people out who are in desperate need of help. And I think it'll be a lot of fun. Wow. That is quite a name. Did you see that one there? Krishnananda
Mahanti.
I love it. 16-foot soffit. If I use 2 8-foot ladder joined end to end, will that be legally right? If you're just building a box to cover ducting, then, one screw holds 80 pounds. That's about all you need to know. Outside of that, you knock yourself out. As long as your joints in your drywall have something where you can screw it together so they're not moving and they're not going to crack, that's really the only consideration. Everything else is just, it's the wide world of sports out there. Just go at it. No worries, dude. Mark is saying that I'm his carpenter and Roger's his plumber. That's cool. Yeah. I didn't even know about Roger. See, because I'm on YouTube in Canada, and it'll be years before YouTube would share Roger with me. But here we are. Now Roger's getting all kinds of free exposure. That's kind of fun. Loving it. Ryan says the original 1950s clay weeping tile around my house was installed on top of the footing. You too, eh? Yeah, it's the wrong place. Let me tell you. God help us all. Picture time. I once lived in a house that had good drainage and everything else was normal except the footing. Instead of the weeping tile being here, it was here. Just like you're talking about. And you know what? In the distance, half a mile away, there's a huge apartment building. And their plumbing went down under the ground, and then it came through my backyard, and then it had a turn. But everyone forgot about this because it didn't make it into the plans. So 40 years later, something broke. And the ground got saturated with water. And you know what? Because the weeping tile was on top of the footing, the water ended up forcing through my floor. Wasn't that lovely? And my whole basement floor exploded and flooded. And so whoever this guy is that's doing this, best not to tell me you do it. Because that's the most maddening day of my life. Watching corn and carrots coming through my floor into my own drain. And why? Well, because that's the way sewage works. Listen, if you're constructing and you're putting the weeping tile in the wrong place because it's Friday, it's 4 o'clock, and you're 2 feet short and you're too cheap to do the job right, get out of the trades, all right? Just leave it for someone who with integrity, okay? Get into retail. Go sell burgers and fries. But for God's sake, don't ever pull stunts like that. Yeah, maybe someone just had bad information and was left alone and you know, they did it wrong. But that kind of stuff just busts my ass. All right. Next, we got 3 minutes. If you got a question, get it to me now because I am not going to hang around here any longer than I need to. Because A, I'm tired. It's been a real busy year so far for us. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I work my butt off. I was outside today. It was 19 degrees. And in our world, that means about 80. And I was actually doing the last little bit of work on my shed that had to get done. It looks so pretty. All right, rapid fire questions. Here we go. Let's get at it. Bum, bum, bum. Justin Macy, they're finishing a media room from bare concrete to taping drywall with your help. Broke down and called a drywall guy today. Price is damaged a bit, but could use help to get the finish line. Yeah, I hear you. Right? Sometimes it's just like, it's a lot of work, man. And, you know, they just want to get her done. I get it. But cheers. Glad to be of help. Yeah, I always save my rant to the end. Maybe not. Maybe I should do a rant video just straight up. No? Okay. That's a bad thing. Okay. Someone said here, the epoxy is great for a garage. Do you think it's a good option for kitchen and bathroom countertops? No, I don't. It's not food grade. Don't put things in your kitchen that aren't food grade. Bad idea. Window buying video coming really soon. I'm going to show you how to measure, and I'm going to show you where to get the best deal in North America. It's coming. How much should a 420 square foot addition cost? Somewhere between $10,000 and $500,000. Gotta love a quick answer. Chocolate's in the house. Hey, just popped in to say hi and click the like button. Cheers. Appreciate that. You're awesome. Tiles next to the tub extend all the way to the floor with a 1/2-inch gap to the baseboard. Exposing painted wall in between. What's the best way to make this look better? Take off that baseboard and put in a new piece. Somebody just ran out of material and just went and cheaped out. That shouldn't happen. All right. I'm thinking I am pretty much there. Okay. Well, listen, it's been fun. Listen, if you're out there renovating this year, guys, it's going to be hell. All right. Stay organized. Stay ahead of the game. Plan contractors 60, 90, 120 days in advance. And if you have questions about options, materials, and that sort of stuff, join the forum. Get in there. Ask your questions. I can help you out. We can't save everybody a fortune, but if you do it yourself, you're going to save a hell of a lot more money than the guy next to you. Cheers till next time.
Okay, so how do we